Wider View on Northern Sound.
And you're very welcome back to the programme this afternoon. Well, we've heard a lot about mother and baby homes over the years. A lot has come out in recent months. But you ask yourself the question, sit back and ask, what was it like for the women affected or the women that went into these homes? Well, today on this programme, you're going to hear one personal account firsthand. SharonMcGuigan from Monaghan joins us in studio. Sharon, I suppose firstly, thank you for joining us to tell us this story. It can't be an easy one to tell.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's very emotional still. After all this time, it's still emotional.
Will you tell us what happened this day, the 25th of November, 30 years ago?
I found out I was pregnant. I was 16. I was put on a bus at McConnell's bus at Ronan's Chemist to go to a mother and baby home in Dunboyne to meet a woman, none that I'd never met before, at the Gresham Hotel in Dublin. I arrived at the Gresham, didn't know this woman. This woman got on the bus and asked my name, and she asked me to go with her. So I followed her to a car park where she was parked a car, and we drove to Dunboyne.
And did you know where you were going?
I knew I was going to a mother and baby home. I knew I was going to a mother and baby home, but I didn't know what that entailed. I was just so confused at that time. I just didn't know. I arrived at the mother and baby home, and we were tucked into a wee room, and somebody came in and gave tea and toast, and it was packed to capacity. There was no beds.
So where did you sleep?
I slept on a fold-up bed for about 5 weeks.
And were all the other ladies pregnant also?
All pregnant, all in the same boat. There were different ages, 15 up to 30.
You were 16 at the time?
I was 16 at the time.
And
scared.
How long were you there for?
I was there till the end of February 1986. Spent Christmas in the mother and baby home. I can't fault the mother and baby home. They were very good.
What did your day involve there?
We would have got up about 6 or half 6, gone and got our breakfast. Then we'd have got changed, showered and changed, and we all had duties to do.
Like chores?
Chores. So it was, my chore was to brush and mop the stairs from the top of the building to the bottom. And we done that, and there was other chore. I can't remember the other chores. There was that main one. Then we would get our lunch, and after lunch we used to go into a prefab, and we used to pack cards, which there would be 5 or 6 cards you'd put into cellophane and seal them, and we spent from say 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock packing cards, and then the rest of the evening was our own.
And during that time, did you notice other women in the facility having babies, or what was going off maybe to give birth to children?
Yeah, there would have been a minibus that would have been there, and every Thursday you'd have different women that would go to Holles Street for their checkups. And you'd have one, they would have just disappeared, that I went in labour. You might never have seen them again. Some of them would have come home. It was very surreal. It was girls, it was like a conveyor belt. Girls were coming and going, and
some girls brought their babies home with them. Yes,
some did. Yes, some did. Most of them, I think, gave them up for adoption.
And what was the process there? Take us to the day that you had your little baby girl.
Well, I attended Holles Street, went every Thursday to Holles Street for checkups. And this particular day was an evening time, and I thought I was in labour, and one of the nuns who was a nurse checked me over, and there was another girl in labour, and the two of us were sent to Holles Street. I arrived at Holles Street and was took into a room, and a nurse examined me and told me I wasn't in labour, and that I had to stay in the room. It was a room just with the bed, and she was going to try and find me a bed or get me a lift back to the home. So I lay there for forever.
It felt like forever.
It felt like forever. Nobody came near me. And then eventually the nurse came back and said, "We've got a bed." And as I got up off the bed was covered in blood. So I was rushed down to the labour ward. So when I was down in the labour ward, nobody told me what was going to happen, anything. Nobody told me nothing. And I went down, and there was a doctor there who broke my waters. There was cubicles. It was about 10 cubicles with just curtains, no doors, no nothing. And I was put into the furthest cubicle and left until I was ready to give birth. And gave birth. My daughter was premature. She was a month premature. She was rushed straight up to intensive care. She was in an incubator. I was put down in the ward. The next morning, I wanted to know how she was, and there was a nurse, I don't know her name, she wheeled me up to intensive care to see my daughter. And I couldn't believe, that she was so small. Well, she wasn't very small, but she was all hooked up, and then, and every day I went up after breakfast and I sat at the side of her cot. They had to come looking for me for lunchtime every day. Straight after breakfast went up, straight after dinner time went up, straight after my tea in the evening went up. And I sat there for the 5 days.
And what day did you realise then that you weren't going to see her again? Or how did that come about?
For years, I don't remember leaving the hospital. I don't remember leaving the hospital. I do now. I didn't then. For years I blocked that out. And I suffered depression for years. Total, there was something missing. I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And only recently, I'd say in the past 5 years maybe, I went to intensive counselling and I broke down. Broke down, and I sobbed for 45 minutes. That I remembered walking out of that hospital and leaving her there. And I'll never forget that. Walking and leaving her there and never to see her again.
You didn't want to give her up?
No, I didn't want to give her up. I had no choice.
Tell us about heretofore. As you said, you've gone through. You're here talking today because you've found a group that have helped you, and you want to tell, in telling your story, you want to tell women out there that have gone through similar things that help is at hand.
Yeah.
Tell us about heretofore. I know that you have had, your daughter was adopted.
My daughter was adopted. I would have been 17 when I signed the adoption papers on my own. A lot of it would have been a blur. A lot of it.
I know for her 18th birthday or 21st birthday, all the significant points, you wrote her a letter telling you why you had to give her up.
I did.
And where did you leave? Tell us about that.
I left a letter. There was information came through the door. Now I'm not sure how many years ago, from the adoption board, that you could leave information in an adoption board that if your child traced you, all the information would be there.
Okay.
So I availed of that, and I left a letter I left photographs and I left cards there for whenever she wanted to come looking for me. She had the information, and that's available for everybody. That is there for everybody. Then I went on to, it was boards.ie, and it was Good Shepherd Convent, Dunboyne. I don't know how I hit on it.
Yeah.
Just searching, I don't know how that came about, but there was a lot of women there who were talking about their experiences in Dunboyne, and I hadn't connected with anybody that was there at my time. Then there was a lady on it, a Kathy McMahon, who then set up a group, First Mothers, and it's a private group. Nobody else knows about the group, only people that have given birth or had their children adopted.
And why it's called First Mothers is because it's your firstborn.
It's your firstborn, and you, even though your child is adopted, you're still their first mother.
Yeah.
You know, you will always be their first mother. So she set it up, and the age range is from 40 to 70 plus.
Okay.
And there's about 56 plus women on this group, and the support on the group is amazing. I have ranted, I have cried, I have given out the love and that you get from them women, and the fact that you're not alone. There is other women out there that have been through the same as what you've been through and can identify with what you're going through.
You have a husband and a boy and a girl now.
Yes.
In your family, and I know you had to tell them at what stage, how supportive have they been to you?
Amazing. My husband knew from the very beginning. My daughter and son, I would have told them, I suppose they would have been about 11.
Yeah.
But when I knew that they could understand, you know, that they don't, I haven't told them everything.
Yeah.
But if they asked me, I would tell them everything.
Yeah.
There's no secrets. It's not.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And the reason why this interview has been done is because it's not going to be a secret anymore.
Yeah.
The secrets is long gone. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be guilty of. This is my life.
When did you find First Mothers? How long ago?
It would be but 2 years. 2 years now.
And since that, you've made contact with your daughter that was adopted?
I have wrote a letter. I've wrote a letter, and she's replied back, and it's very slow.
Yeah.
At the minute.
And was it the connection and the support of this woman that made you do that, or had you done that prior to finding the group?
Oh no, it was with the group.
With the group, yeah.
The help and support from them.
You know, a lot of people will have a lot of admiration for you today, coming on and telling something so private and something that obviously has burdened you for so long now, 30 years today since you took that bus to the mother and baby home. What's your hope from today's interview?
Well, my hope from today's interview is that I know there's women out there that have kept this secret, and I know they have nobody to talk to. And by doing this interview, I want people to know, these women to know, that there is a group out there. There is support. There's somebody at the end of a phone. There is people that are in the same position and that are willing to listen. And in time, if there was enough people interested, I would love to start up a group once a month, just to give that support and that listening ear and the information on how they can trace, how they can find, how they can open up, information on how they can get talking to counsellors. It's just an open book.
There's just, you've touched on something there. There's this perception that, you know, when a parent or a mother or a father decides to give their child up for adoption, that it's a very one-sided decision and that it's generally voluntary. But some, like you, this wasn't a choice for you.
This wasn't a choice.
Yeah, and so it's I suppose this is following on from legislation that is currently being discussed in the Dáil, and that is the Trace Bill and the Adoption and Trace Bill, which will give mothers like you and maybe children that have gone up for adoption more options and more access to information. Yeah.
And that's what we want. Do you know, like, we lived the shame of it, and you know, we never got our say. And I think we need to let people know that we're not out there, you know, we want the information to be out there, and we want them to be able, and we want to be able to contact or find information about them, and it should be more accessible. You know, you know, it should be more accessible.
I want to thank you, Sharon, for coming in today, and I hope it all works out for you.
Thank you.
I hope, and I know we have your number here. We're going to keep it here in file, and that's the way we'll arrange it. And if there's anyone listening that would like to ring and leave their name and number, I will pass on the details to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe if they don't feel that, you know, they can ring here in confidence. 047 72666 is the direct line, and we'll get your number. I want to wish you all the best. Will you keep us up to date on how you get on with the group?
And thank you very much.
No problem at all. Sharon McGuigan there telling her story this afternoon, and I'll podcast that interview straight after the programme. I know we've had requests from people who maybe tuned in midway, so that will be up on northernsound.ie in the podcast section. Just go to the Wider View programme.